filmfestivalcircuit.com and the director of the Oregon Short Film Festival. We have an event coming up on October the 14th at the Clinton Street Theater, and we're going to be screening a variety of films, short and long, content that's under 30 minutes, everything from TV pilots to comedies to dramas to horror films to science fiction. It's going to be a mixed bag and a lot of fun. And one of our categories that we have is called experimental films. And we have director Ariel, who's here joining us today, and we appreciate your time, nominated for the Best Experimental Film. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Well, congrats on a very visual film with a great, I'm not going to give away your synopsis, but just really you have a nice presentation in a short period of time the judges are impressed with. And they really like the artisticness of just what you brought to the table with this. In your own words, can you put, just tell us about your film, your synopsis in a way that you can, in your own words and not me just spoiling the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to be even put into a synopsis kind of because it's, but I would say it's just the process that I go through as an artist. So I was creating a piece of art a while back and wrote a poem that kind of expressed my internal struggle and conflict while I paint. And recently I was actually diagnosed to be on the autism spectrum. So it kind of made me even more inclined to realize that there's really no right way to do things. We all do things in our own ways. And so in that way, I always had this perception of what an artist is, like what an artist should be, that art should be cathartic for the artist. And it was never really that way for me. It was always like a struggle. And so what I wanted to do is create a visual representation to the poem that I wrote about it.
Okay. So The Blank Void, definitely, it definitely gives you, it definitely doesn't give away what it's about, but a very, very interesting story. And it's true. They're just more than one way to do things. I appreciate you being, transparent about how this all came about. And you kind of answered my next question. I don't know if you want to add to it, but I was going to ask you what your motivation was for spending your time, effort, and energy to create this and send it out to festivals. Like, was there any other motivation to this whole thing?
I think it was just a personal project that I wanted to complete. And once I finished, it was obviously something personal, but also something I wanted to share. So I think that was kind of the motivation behind it. Yeah, maybe see if it resonates with other people, other artists, So
did you learn anything during this production? I mean, I feel like every production is a little piece of film school. Did you learn anything?
It was a pretty straightforward production. It was just me and one other person. I kind of had the whole thing mapped out, pretty simplistically. I can't say I really learned anything. Fortunately, it was just kind of very straightforward. So, yeah. And other productions, I've definitely learned about other things, but this one was pretty easy.
Well, it's a pretty good summation of like learning experiences to just execute something, and that does teach you something. Like, hey, you know what? I had an idea and I just made it. And that's important. What do you have planned for the future? This is a short piece. Are you doing something a little bit longer? Or are you going to stick with expressing this idea in some other form? Like, what do you have next?
I have a few other short films that I would actually been wanting to get into production soon. Hasn't happened yet, but that's kind of where I'm going. More narrative, less experimental. But yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate your time today. Is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I just wanted to thank the judges and everybody at the Oregon Short Film Festival. They're having me and showing my work.
All right. Thanks a lot. We can't wait to put this up on screen and show the audience. The judges really enjoyed it. And the experimental genre is always the one the most thought provoking of all, where it's just like really lets you sit back and absorb something a little bit different. So thank you for sending us your film.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Have a good one.